Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Pure Investments Crypto Weekly Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Khy, and this week I am joined by GR. Say hello, George.
Hello.
Smith was not available this week, and neither was Bowen. We're cycling through. It's the summer. Everyone's a little busy. But anyway, let's kind of break right into it because it's been a busy week as far as Bitcoin goes. Basically, as soon as the last video actually posted. So the last video posted on the 12th, and since that day, we had, 3 sideways days, and then all this big, massive green candle action. So like me and Smith had discussed, and I kind of mentioned in that video, with the daily closing like right at the line here at 6,300, that's basically exactly what happened that day that we recorded it. Right around like 7 o'clock, I want to say, we kind of got this little spike, closed up around 6,300, like right at the line. And then we had like another big red candle, like right after the daily close before like this slow climb up. The weird thing, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, George, is that this volume kind of came out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
We were waiting for like some kind of news or something that we hadn't heard about, but literally nothing of the effect happened. As far as we can tell, this was kind of just like a random short squeeze. But we broke the 2 crucial levels, right? So we held that 6,300 support that we, Smith and I talked about last week. And then we basically just tapped against this with this 4-hour candle and then erupted straight through it. Through that, that 6850 range that we have been below for, over a month now, I guess, right? June 10th was the last time we were above it. So that was the big one. Just taking a drink here. As far as what we're seeing right now, right? You can kind of tell here everything's super overbought on the non-daily marks. I mean, as far as the daily goes, as soon as this wants to load, that is awfully slow. The daily even is, 66 RSI is kind of right about that point where, you usually see it being kind of topped out. I don't know what, your opinion is. I would guesstimate that we're going to see a nice, probably slow flag down to around that 6850 mark and retest it. I mean, I guess in theory we could flag sideways and take one more leg, but to me, the only way for all this to consolidate back down properly would be that what's that? I guess about $500, like a nice little $500 flag down for a few days, should really bring all of this back down and give room for the next pop up. Plus, you break resistance, you always want to retest it first. That's just the nature of the beast, So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't really see anything that would lead me to the contrary. I don't know about you, George. You have any?
No, not really. I think we're just going to be seeing a couple days or maybe even weeks of chop just above that, like right on your line of resistance that you have drawn.
Yeah, that's
We'll
kind of
probably
what
stay
I'm
around
thinking
there.
here. But I mean, in
At a
the
recent.
end, basically, I mean, I'm actually kind of curious because I had talked about this a few weeks ago. I haven't actually checked this till now. But from the bottom, was this about 25%? Yeah, more or less, right? So that's kind of interesting. I know a few weeks back I talked about this, but this 6850 line was kind of a big one in the sense that each daily candle that broke it, we've gone up halfway basically each time, which I found particularly interesting. This is actually down here. So like we basically had like a 200%, 100%, and this is all just the day that we broke back over 6850. And then we had 50%, and now we've got like 25%. That's a really interesting pattern when it comes to the breaking of 6850. Now, in theory, with the way I was tracking this before, we would actually have a little bit more upwards momentum and probably top out around this 8,500 mark. Because I was basing it off of the start of the day that we broke over. Because otherwise, this is more like 250% if you start from the bottom. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I would say that we'd probably still have the flag down here flag down to this line and then have one more big eruption like this up to here, and then it's that decision point time, right? Because you can't keep following this halving pattern. Like, it's actually crazy that this is so perfect as it is. Yeah, like, look, 201%, 96.4. I mean, let's round a little bit, right? So, I mean, it's been really close. So, I wouldn't be shocked if we top out around 8,500. The question is, when we hit this mark, do we break up out of it and, keep pushing up? Or what's far more likely probably would be that we would flag back down to a certain degree, and then push up out of it. But this halving pattern can't stay forever.
I mean, we're definitely gonna, once we reach like the end of your halving pattern, we're gonna need some news or something to kind of push it up and out and
that's
get the
kind of what I'm
momentum
thinking,
started.
right? Because like you figure
Spark.
25% is the last time that you can really have on like a nice even number, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like from here, it'd be like 12.5% jump.
Too small.
Yeah, it's not really relevant, right? Like we did 10% yesterday.
Yeah.
So with that regard, though, I would definitely think that we will come back. Like, I mean, you can see this big, if I zoom in here, this is a nasty gravestone doji here on the daily chart. If this closes like this, and I mean, we've only got another hour and 15 minutes or so in the day. So it's definitely not the prettiest candle in the world. But yeah, I would be looking at a 25% move in total from this range. So right around 8,400 or so, which happens to kind of align with some old resistance right around here. You can actually, here, if I draw the line, it's probably going to be a little bit easier to see. So right about here-ish. So you've kind of got resistance here, and then it was resistance here and here. So it's not perfect resistance back here as well. You can see like all the way before the big run up. So it would actually line up like pretty perfectly with this line, give or take a few $100 maybe. So that would be my current guesstimation right now. I would say that this pattern seems to be playing out pretty flawlessly. The question would be, when we do hit this eventual line, what do we do from there? Is this the end of it and we rip up past this and break this pattern? Or do we, like I said before, flag back down again like a second time and do a double bottom around 68.50 and then turn up? That would be the question. But I would think that this period, if this one comes to fruition and sticks with this 25%, that would be the last time this pattern could really maintain, per se. It's definitely a freakish pattern, though, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
It's
And I
like
think
really weird.
It's hitting all the old points of, or where we are right now, slowing down seems to be hitting an old point of resistance, which is kind of funny. And then it'll bounce around there, go up a little bit further, and then complete the pattern to just a strange degree.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So is the way MACD looks on this, actually, now that I'm looking at it on the daily.
It's very upward sloping almost.
Yeah, so you can kind of see, right, like, this isn't a perfect line. Obviously, like, you're not getting points of contact with MACD, perfect. But you can kind of see the difference here, right? Like, these are completely opposites. This is bullish divergence. Completely. Like, this is textbook bullish divergence.
Yeah.
There's no other way to draw it up. It's actually, I would say, fairly rare that you're going to see a 6-month pattern like that form. You know what I mean? Like,
outside of stocks, of course.
Yeah.
In crypto, that's just kind of unheard of.
Yeah, like you'll see bullish divergence on a 4-hour chart, and it may be a couple days old, but 6 months worth of it forming is kind of interesting. And there's a lot there. I mean, it's not a small amount of it by any stretch of the imagination, you know what I mean? And then this, I mean, the top of it's looking correct. This point was higher than this, which this point's higher than this, so that's looking good. It's this bottom massive slope, and I mean, even if you were to draw it from here to here, it still holds water. You know what I mean? Like, it's still crooked.
Yep.
This is still sloping down. So there's definitely massive bullish divergence on the daily, and that's going back, again, 6 months. I am curious. Ooh, what did I just do there? I somehow just selected Ether Party. I'm curious here on the weekly. Does it show? Probably not.
I feel like it would.
But I'm
Yeah, not
curious.
long enough.
No, yeah, not quite. Man, the weekly though, you can see this weekly MACD is getting really close to crossing up. Now we got close
And
this time back here, right? But this is going to be, I think, the big catalyst. Can this weekly MACD get over the hump? Because we've been below it now since way back in what, late January, yeah. So I mean that's a big one, and you can see there's some other stuff going on here on the weekly too, right? So you've got RSI EMA crossing over, which is definitely a bullish sign number one. You know, the first bullish sign. You know, Smith and I discussed the Stoke curve last week, and you can see that that's finally breaking over 30 as well, which is a big point of contention because, you know, you can see like the little fake out we had back here where it kind of tapped 30 and fell back down. And then this one where we kind of failed to break over 50 right here. So that would be the next like resistance line, quote unquote. And then you've also got the, you know, the squeeze momentum that's getting real close.
about to flip.
Yeah,
Getting ready.
Getting real close to flipping. So weekly chart wise, I mean, every star is aligning, which is, you know, obviously what we want to see. Daily, everything's already kind of aligning, you know. You've got, you know, MACD obviously crossed up, bounced the cross down, which is something I actually discussed, I believe, in Premium a couple days back, that this could, you know, bounce that cross down just because of the way everything else was shaping up. You know, the daily obviously needs to consolidate a little bit, but all in all, I mean, you look at the technical analysis breakdown, there's definitely more buy signals than sell signals. One thing I haven't really looked at in a bit here actually is the moving averages. So let's see how that's shaping up here. So let's see here. So we've got the blue, I believe, is the 9 and the 12, right? Yeah. So we'll hide the 9. That's not really relevant. So let's see here. The 12 crossed over the 26, and it's currently pushing up towards the 50. The yellow line's the 50 line. All right. And that is in a perfect spot, actually, when you think about it, right? This is at 6,700 basically right now. So if we're going to assume that this is our support line, this 50 MA is more than close enough. And by the time we were to track down to this, more than likely, this 12-day MA would actually be like right here. You know, if you're just looking at the way it's shaping up here, this 12-day MA is going to probably line up like right on top of this, and we'll bounce off that. That would be the ideal situation, I would say.
Then you have your 200-day moving average kind of right near that zone we were talking about, 20 or the 25%.
Oh, yeah.
Right near the top of
Look
it.
at that. Good catch. I didn't even catch that. Hold on. I just deleted that. Yeah. You know, I
pretty
wonder.
Close.
It's sloping down pretty fast, you know. That might actually line up right around here, you know, like around that start of August, which would be probably right around the time that this would hit up here. You know, right around this range. That could probably line up. Like, you may see the 12 MA come up here. We flag down for, you know, the weekend, basically. Maybe, like, into Monday. You know, maybe Tuesday's, like, the turn off this line. Bounce off the 12 EMA and off the support and the resistance retest. And then you're right. The 200 EMA, or the 200 MA would probably come down right on top of that line, that white line there.
Beat it right when it hits it.
Mm-hmm. And that would be your then resistance. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's all the stars aligning.
That's the weirdness.
Yeah, right? Like, you talk about your gut feeling, and then you look at everything, and you're like, oh, wow, that would align with a lot of stuff, wouldn't it? These are the EMAs. I'm just curious how these line up. Oh, wow, look at that. Bounced right off of it. 76.13 was the EMA. We hit a high of 75.88. Close enough. Literally bounced directly off of it there. Wow.
Hit it almost perfectly.
Yeah, really. Like, I mean, it just tapped it and bounced. And same thing, like the daily candle right here. You can see right on this yellow line here. I'm pointing at the monitor like you can see where I'm pointing. But, you know, like this candle right here tapped, I guess this is probably the, what's this one? This is probably the 50
20.
EMA? Or the 20? Well, it's the 12, 50, 10, and 200. Yeah, so this is the 100, this orange line here. This is the 200, so this is the 50, the yellow one. And then you've got this cross, though, about to hit, too, which is kind of interesting. Because you've got EMA bars basically, right? So this is your buy sell signals. So if you actually hide this, you can kind of see like it's faked out a few times up here, but like here, the first time it triggered was what basically spawned after that big run up. So I mean, after that triggered that time around, it was a 30% run up. I would expect it to be more like this, right? So we've got this little green trigger here where it flipped from red to green. I'm fully expecting it to be more like this one, where we kind of have this like little M that we form. So you'd basically have, a drop down to here and then up to here and back down. So I would assume that this is going to be a mini little fake out here, which is fine. That's to be expected. But same thing. Look at the this is I guess the 50 EMA, right? Look where this is lining up at 67.27, and this will move a little bit faster. So this is going to line up exactly where the 12 EMA, or the 12 MA, rather, the 12 moving average is going to line up with the 50 exponential moving average almost flawlessly. And actually, these two might meet right about here.
Okay, here's that.
Yeah, like right around there. So this and the moving averages all will converge basically on this line, which would be definitely extremely strong support. You've got the prior resistance, you've got all these moving averages lining up there. Amazing how that plays out, huh? When you go on half gut feel and everything, and then everything just lines up perfectly. I mean, even Ichimoku, look at this, right? Hit the cloud,
hit right on
boom.
the cloud.
Hit the cloud and was like, nope, bye.
Looks like the top of the cloud too is right near that 25% or whatever it was, 0.2.
Yeah, and you can see this is moving up here, right? The bottom here is moving up, which would imply that this could take a tick up or two as well. Like as we move through this, you could see the top of the cloud actually move closer up to this zone here is completely possible. It really depends on how long the drape down is. And even the Tenkin here, right? This Tenkin, look at where the line is. Another couple days, it's going to line up right here.
Oh my God.
Right there where everything else is. And same thing, the Chiku span here, it's over price action. It's going to come down and tap here with the price action, obviously. So everything will bounce perfectly. Man, talk about stars aligning, huh? Ain't that some shit?
Yeah.
Jesus. That was just like a gut feel on what it would play out to be. And then you start looking at everything and it's like, oh, so no, that's just how that's going to play, I guess. TD sequential, not a lot going on here, honestly. This is just a daily 3 candle. I wouldn't expect to see this go to 9. Yeah, I just don't see it happening. Same thing though, I'm not expecting the red to go to 9. But if you notice on the countdowns here on the bottom, right? So you had your red 13 here, and that was the last red. We haven't actually started a new red countdown, right? And you have your green 13 here, so this is definitely the point of decision. Which countdown is going to start next? It definitely plays a big role in that, in those waves. The ending of both of them is definitely a important sign there. So the next one, whether we complete a red 9 or a green 9 will be the next start. Ideally it'll be that green 9. But I would fully expect to have a couple raid days here, like I said, like 2 or 3, and then bounce, and then probably see your 9 somewhere up here. And that would be your
slow down
first
for a second.
Yeah, and that would be your first green countdown before the pullback. Timing this out is going to be a little bit tougher. It's hard to say, really. I think what Smith and I discussed last week will basically come to fruition, right? You'll have the flag down to here, and the start of this run up, this 25% run up, will probably come right around August 1st. Just looking at how everything's kind of lining up, right? You'll probably come down here and maybe move sideways for a few days around this line before, turning up. No, it will not be that sharp. We're not just going to go like this in 2 days. But, you're probably going to have this little August run up, similar to last year. Last year we had that little August run up, not quite as large as this one, but we'll have a run up in August. And then probably around fall will be the hopefully return of like real market conditions. If I were to be a betting man.
As long as like we find something to kind of be the catalyst and get it going. Because if not, then
Yep.
I feel like it'll just kind of stay where it is, waiting
I
for
don't know
something to
though,
happen.
because realistically, like last year didn't have much of a catalyst.
Yeah,
The
but there were a lot of new people flooding into the market
But they
too.
were flooding into the market though because of the run, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
the
that is true.
catalyst was kind of Bitcoin itself in a sense. So that could happen again, right? If Bitcoin breaks 10,000 again, that's your catalyst. That's what will break
Yeah,
headlines. Like
it'll get in
Bitcoin is up.
headlines and
Yep,
everywhere.
exactly. Like we came real close back here to getting that marker, right? Like we ran up 100%. We came awfully, awfully close to getting that big headline again, like Bitcoin returns, and
Yeah,
then it all crashed down to hell again. You know, um, and same thing though. We keep doing this M pattern, right? Like you've got your first big M, and then you've got your little M, and then you've got a littler M, and we're gonna do the same thing here, right? This is gonna make a M more than likely. It's gonna be much smaller. We're gonna do kind of like this, and then go up. It'll be interesting to see how that up affects everything though. Um, but man, yeah, wow, everything really lines up perfectly with that 25% pattern, huh? Or
yeah,
I
for
guess it's
sure.
technically the 50% pattern, right? Not the
That's
25%
what it's the
pattern.
50% pattern.
Yeah, it's halving every single
25%
time.
more.
Yep. So I mean, that's you can't really draw it up any better than that when you find a little pattern like this, and then every single indicator and moving average and everything lines up flawlessly like that. It's hard to really debate that, huh?
Oh, for sure.
So, that's basically all there is to cover on Bitcoin. We will cover alts really quick here, right? Real quick. So, Smith and I discussed last week that, now isn't the time to be selling. Um, if you're doing anything right now, you're buying or sitting on the sidelines and watching. You're not doing anything else. If you're selling right now, you're basically just selling for nothing, right? Like, what's the point of selling right now if you're down 80%? What are you gonna save? $50? Like it's just not the time to be selling. Like if you rode this wave up and you still haven't sold at this point, well, don't bother. There's no reason to. And that's not investment advice, so to speak. It's just more of a common sense sort of thing. If you're already down 80% from the height, selling now is just kind of fruitless. At the very least, wait for a little pop here or there. Kind of like a lot of us, cashed out on Poe during this big day's run up and bought back in if we were crazy, which I was. you know, but I will say, selling Poe on the way up down here enabled me to buy back my full stack down here again, and also buy a bunch of IOST as well, just because, right? Like, why not?
Uh,
So, it works out. Like I said last time, the only time I'd be selling is on a big pump. If you happen to catch this weekend, keep an eye out. I would say actually, especially like tomorrow and Saturday, keep an eye out. Not for this. This is a
that's
small.
Coin. That was because of Coinbase.
Exactly. This is because of the Coinbase news, which I guess we can cover briefly, but this isn't too crazy, right? Like this is a
Yeah,
pretty average size pump. The Poe pump was like 180% or something. Like that's the type of pump where like it's confirmed it's a pump and dump group. What I usually do, pop on Twitter, right? Pop on Twitter. You type out like, dollar sign and whatever the coin is. So say it's XLM, it'd be dollar sign XLM and hashtag XLM, and just kind of scroll through, right? If it's a pump and dump group, you'll know. People will post about it on Twitter. And if that's the case, feel free to sell into the pump, I would say. That's the type of selling you want to do, because pump and dump groups, it's never going to survive. They're going to dump it. That's why they're called pump and dumps, and
yeah,
it'll come right back down. Just like, I'll use this because it's the only one that's really happened recently, right? The Poe pump went all the way up here. It was, what was it? I think it was like almost 200%, right?
yeah. It was quite.
140%, and it came right back down basically to where it started. 20 sats off of its starting point. Started at 220, it came all the way back down to 240. So that's a pump and dump, and I knew this. I confirmed it in our Discord and everything the day it happened. I was actually waiting for a train on my way to the Yankees game, and I just popped on Twitter Immediately, I saw a bunch of stuff of people posting, you know, I forget what group it was or whatever, but this group's pumping Poe, you know, and they showed like screenshots of it, so you have confirmation. And that's when you know, just scale out. You know, I was selling 10,000 like every 50 sats, 10,000 Poe, 10,000 Poe, and just selling a bunch on the way up, knowing that eventually the pump's going to stop. And then when we got back down to like 300, I started to load back up again. And it's basically free money. You know, so if you see something like that where a coin jumps 50% and you're already in it, go on Twitter, go on, you know, their subreddit. A lot of them have, you know, subreddits like Poet Project and /r/Ripple. All of them have a subreddit.
Yeah.
All of them have Twitter. You know, go on there, see if you can see if anyone's saying it's a pump or if it's news based, and make your decision that way. You know, news based, that's harder to give advice on generically because it really depends on what the news is.
Exactly. What type of news is going to come out, whether or not it's actually going to be sustained.
Yeah, you know, sometimes if it's like Nano, it might be that, you know, Justin Sun signed a partnership with some hobo or something and the coin's running up. But,
yeah,
you know, so bear in mind, you know, you got to read into the news. Is the news actually big news or is it like not that big? You know what I mean? Like when Verge got the Pornhub partnership, it actually wasn't that big of news because when you really think about the logistics of it, it's not actually that much money flow for the coin, you know. So those are the things you got to be mindful of with news. With pumps though, feel free to sell out, scale out on the pump. Don't sell it all at once. Scale out on your way up, buy back in if you trust the technology, buy back in on the low. You know, if you just want out of it, then by all means, you know, do you get out. But if you do want to keep your stack, sell out on the way up, buy back the stack you had. You can even buy back more at that point if you wanted to. You know, and keep riding the wave. But don't sell if it's just like this, where it's just sideways, nothing's happening. You know, it right now
wait for confirmation.
Time. Yeah, exactly. It's a silly time to sell right now. BNB is looking interesting. Something to keep an eye on here because it's kind of breaking the support. Like I would have wanted to see it hold yesterday's line actually. So it's interesting to see. I wonder how far BNB could come down. Because ideally, we talked about this last week too, me and Smith. This would have been the perfect line to hold, which is right where yesterday held. Like actually,
right through it.
I'm kind of glad I didn't see this because I would have been buying yesterday actually. Because that's like, I mean, you don't get a better setup than that, right? Like a triple top, resistance break, retest. Basically what we're talking about Bitcoin doing. You know, Stokes low, everything's like low. Like let's see, what's regular RSI in this? Regular RSI at 29. This could be a complete fake out, bear in mind. You know, by the time this video goes live, you could see this back up over the line. I actually wouldn't be totally shocked if this were a fake out, just right below, you know, that support line just to shake out some people. Because the volume's not really all that high.
Yeah, BNB kind of tends to do the opposite of Bitcoin sometimes. I guess that's maybe what it's doing.
I mean, you can see the big run up, and obviously Bitcoin wasn't running up like this since March.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
But yeah, I think that'll about do it for today. You know, so we've got our Bitcoin plan. That Bitcoin plan seems pretty set in stone, at least for now, until something tells me otherwise. But, you know, you can see the stars aligning. If you're looking to re-enter, your target's probably around the 6850 mark. You know, maybe a little bit higher than that just to ensure. You know, it doesn't always come right back to the support line. Sometimes you could just get close. And then, you know, ride the wave up to probably around 8,500 or so. And then as for alts, you know, the only thing you should be doing right now is buying. If you're holding stuff, just keep holding it, I would say. You know, I know we keep saying it's right around the corner, but at this point, you've waited
it really
7 months. Yeah. I mean, it's really, everything's been so bottomed out. I mean, realistically, you look at any of these coins and they haven't really made new lows in a while. So that's about it, though. So just keep an eye on the markets, and we will see you next week. Hopefully by next week, we've already done this tap, and we're, you know, looking at the possibilities of how the stars are aligning for the move up. All right, so for that, I've been Khy. That's been George. And we'll see you guys later.